Most who are fans of the Grand Prix legends would assume Mick Claridge winning meant he was able to run away with it. But last week's topsy-turvy race was anything but predictable. Being used to a wild one will come in handy today because we've arrived at Detroit, one of the toughest and most punishing tracks on iRacing. Who will come out on top at the Motor City? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Though there are rumors that this circuit might be abandoned in favor of a street race downtown, it remains a popular one. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to the Belle Isle Street Circuit. Situated in a beautiful park on Belle Isle itself, it rests in the Detroit River, sandwiched between the Motor City and Canada. With it being in the far north of the Midwestern United States, as you'd expect, harsh winters make this a bone-jarringly bumpy track. It's most known for IndyCar's yearly visit, but has also seen IMSA hold rounds here lately. The 14 narrow corners only add up to a mere 2.3 miles in length, but it can tend to feel like a lot more just from the sheer stress of keeping your car out of the walls. Runoff is non-existent in the majority of corners, so mistakes tend to be punished with race-ending damage. The dangers include the tight and twisty fountain section with its rapid-fire set of bends, and the frightening turns 12 and 13, which end the lap with 2 swift kinks. However, the most notorious spot on the track is the exit of Turn 2, made famous by collecting the Corvette pace car into its hungry walls one year. The first 2 turns are a quick chicane, so the extreme change of direction, plus the rise in the track as it crosses over a creek, means grip and balance can disappear in an instant. While the setup of the car can sometimes help lessen the annoyance of the bumps a little, what this place all comes down to is driver skill and daring. Precision will pay off with the close proximity of the barriers. While it isn't a stroll in the park for drivers, fans get to enjoy the beauty of the scenery all while watching some of the most thrilling racing an American street course has to offer. Well, as you can see, this track is going to be tough for these old open wheelers. Even modern ones have trouble here. But here at Detroit, the drivers will be facing off, of course, with a 14-turn circuit that has 2.3 miles and only a few places to pass, really, down into Turn 3 and into Turn 7, just entering the fountain section, usually the most popular. But it's the bumps that will most likely cause them all sorts of woes. And hopefully we'll see them manage it quite well here today. Joining me, of course, is Jake Sperry here in the booth. And as we get ready to watch these cars race, we, of course, have our race details. Jake, what are they up against here today?
Well, this is the real challenge here. This is Belle Isle, a circuit that needs no introduction. 23 laps to try and figure themselves around. It's an open setup, so they all understand that they have to be technically sound and of mind to get the car working the way they need to. And there is no spare car, which is more important here than it is at any other place today. No spare car. You just brush up against the wall in the Lotus 49 with a little bit of contact. Suspension is so brittle and fragile, you could be finding yourself having no race here today by very much 2 corners.
Absolutely. So as the drivers continue on in the qualifying, we're waiting for the first ones to put their laps down, and then we will be able to see who is quick here today. Rob Olenek not able to come away with the victory last week at Okayama. I'm sure he wants to turn that around, but will we see some other face potentially come in and be able to steal that away? Gary Teal obviously is a quick one usually, and the Haycoxes have also shown themselves to be quite quick. And I see Topi Kortaniemi, no surprise there that he's managed to top the times provisionally.
Well, it's only by 900ths of a second at the moment, which is really, really solid to see at this stage. But this is not the easiest track to get the most out of it. You can see there a little bit of sliding, and you can see just how much the nose really dips as they hit the brakes. This is a track which by all intents and purposes, is going to be tough for these drivers to deal with, mainly due to the fact, Joe, that this is a bumpy circuit. This is a street circuit. You're not going to have that smooth asphalt that you'd have at a traditional racing track. This is one of only a couple on the iRacing service that have those bumps, that have those difficulties under braking, and it really does make it difficult to try and work out where your braking point actually is, because where you'd naturally brake, you might be 5 meters before, you might be 5 meters later, depending on how bumpy the track is.
Exactly. And I'm looking to see who we're waiting on, because a number of drivers have yet to set at times. Not really many places you can touch the grass here and discount a lap. If you brush the wall, it will, but at that point, you're probably going to be quite slow. We've got the 4 on screen currently. That's Ove Trangerade, who has yet to set his first time lap. Should have enough time to get both of them in as he comes into 12 and 13. Very tough and punishing corners with no runoff to the outside. And that is a fast blast down to the line, which comes up quick. Let's see what it's going to be as he crosses. First one does not count. He must have actually touched the wall or something somewhere. This is highly unusual for Ove.
Well, this is the issue that you have around a lap like this. Part of iRacing system is the off-track system, Joe. And if they get themselves any hit, it doesn't matter how strong it is. The system has 0, 1, 2, and 4x, as Lino goes just 200ths behind in terms of time. The key is you brush the wall anywhere on this circuit, that's it. The lap's gone. And that is what makes street circuits on iRacing so difficult, is because qualifying laps, you have to be off the barriers 110%.
So now, looks like we've got the 9 on screen as we watch him come through turn 5 up to 6, ever critical corner, trying to get the power down onto the backstretch, which isn't even really straight. And without the downforce and the speeds and the bumps, Jake, that's going to be tough.
I mean, Strand Drive 1 is probably one of the most interesting sections of road. You can see just how much the car is oscillating as it goes towards what I like to call it the 7-11 complex, because that's turn 7. You go through this very tight left-hander of turn 8. You got these 2 consecutive rights, 9 and 10, past the Scott Fountain, and then over towards 11, this very tight right-hander, which sets up Strand Drive 2. And if you're not careful, that is the key critical point of the lap. You get that point wrong, you're not just losing a tenth or 2, you're losing half a second, you're losing a second, because that is the moment of the lap where you need as much balance as possible. You need to be as in tune with this Lotus 49 as possible.
And Presley slows as he comes to the line. So that last lap at a 30.5 is unfortunately faster than he was before, but I'm not sure how he managed that, considering he was braking so early as he comes now down the straight towards turn 3, one of those popular places to try and overtake. And do we have anybody else yet to set a time? I see Brad Fenley in the 19 still needs to set one, as it looks like he hasn't even put 1 lap in. Hopefully this is a flyer and not a warm-up lap. As he comes down to the line, it looks like it does count, 37.7. That will get him into 31st, at least out of 36 drivers here today. Going to be a tough one, no doubt, for a number of drivers who have not put a time on the board. That means essentially our grid is set, and at the top of it, it is once again Topi Kortaniemi who steals the pole. It is Mikko Leno who starts from the 2nd position with Rob Olenek from P3. Togo Hisada will be in the 4th spot. Sebastian Chixier is P5. Ben Zoko in 6 will be followed by Ian Haycox in the 7th position. John Olsen in 8th. Then the 5th row has David Rossi to the inside, and Jan Lehman will be 10th.
Looking over then to row 6, the World of Conducci starts in 11th position. That's Robert Plumley with David Pressel in 12th place. Laust Olsen goes from 13th alongside Steve Hogan with Bill Wright and Gary Teal on row 8 of the grid. Seb Alexander goes from 9th with Hideki Koivisto in 18th position. Michael Grissinger and Chris Hengler make up the 20.
Jordan Zoko starts 21st with Miro Hraski in 22nd, and it's Dave Cohen, P23. Don Good starts from the 24th spot with Andrew Ang in 25th. Herbert Prince will be 26th. He'll be followed by Steve O'Malley. Last one to set a time, Brad Fenley, as Ove Trangrade will have to start from the back of the field here in 29th. Murakami 30th, Bentley in 31st. You've got Massa in 32nd, Saunders 33rd, Ross, Juteau, and back row Bob rounds out the field of 36 drivers out there. Who will actually make it to the checkered flag here today? We're waiting for a couple more to grid up, and then we're on our way. Mercifully, it is not very hot out there. It's 68 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface, so that should help the grip as long as they can get the tires up to temperature, and pretty much almost no wind to speak of to deal with, even though these cars aren't too sensitive to those sorts of conditions. I see Murakami, Fenley, and a couple others towards the back that are waiting to get out there. We may see some drivers start from pit lane just to try and avoid some of the melee that tends to happen into the first corner or into turn 3. And it looks like they will start from pit lane as the lights are already up. And the green flag is out off the line. Not the greatest to start from Courtney at first, but now he gets going. And it looks like Leno instead is the one that's going to be swamped as Olenek sneaks through into the first and second corner across the hump. Will we see any problems in this ever so dangerous zone?
Olenek did a fantastic job of getting himself going, but again, Courtniemi proving why he is so fantastic. Turn 3 is going to be big. Also, it's going to go straight across. Big accident, and it takes out Olenek in the process as well. I think it was Ian Haycox who got himself all out of shape. That's the one thing we feared, someone missing their braking point into this section, and more dramas they're up and over.
Oh no, it's just caused all kinds of chaos. We saw this in the first round in Austria as well. Another driver missed their braking point and caused a lot of drivers to go out early. I see Tixier, Ian Haycox, Hideki Koivisto, so it looks like at least 4 of them have had to tow to the pits in these early stages, unfortunately.
It's a real shame, especially at such a narrow circuit where there is no room to bail out if something like that's happened. I'm sure Haycox did everything possible to try and avoid. It was just the recoil that did all of the damage then on lap 1. It's completely thrown open the early stages of this race, as you got the likes of David Rossi, for example, who through all of that has managed to put himself up into 5th place. There's your leader right now, Courtniemi, making his way around turn 13. The final kink of 14 to put 1 lap in the books. Well, I hope that the next 22 laps here, Joe, aren't going to be in the same vein.
I hope so as well, especially once they start to get to the lap traffic. But looks like it is clear sailing up at the front for Courtniemi for the time being. He's leading by a good second over Mikko Leno, who's probably happy to see himself back up into second despite the drama. As we're going to look at the replay of that incident. He knew early, he knew he couldn't get it woed up and tried to bail out, but not everybody was able to get clear.
Well, this is the thing. You either got to choose inside or outside in a moment like that when you know you can't get it. The 6 getting caught up was trying to stay out of trouble and ultimately was still parked on the racing line there. So that's why you had that other rollover, which really didn't help. But this is the key. You either choose, okay, I've either got to go to the inside, cause a big issue there. As they can see there, it's the 18 car that's found itself up and over, I do believe there. That's Hideki Koivisto having a sore head, I think is the right way to put it at that point in time. But the key is, you either choose the inside or you choose the runoff. Couldn't get to the runoff, too many cars in front.
Exactly, and this is one of the best battles that we've got back here. This is Lehman trying to hold off Teal as well as Presley, Wright, Olsen, all just trailing behind in a big train. They're going to come out of the fountain section. Great exit, though, from Lehman and starts to pull a gap.
Certainly does, and I do want to point out some drivers who've made some great progress in this race over the opening 2 laps here, Joe, and the key is starting from the back could work as Courtniemi sets fast. Oh, there was contact just back there. There was contact just back there as someone jumped over and up and over. Who is that? That's Bill Wright almost finding himself in the catch fen.
Oh, Billy Bob Wright's been having a bit of a miserable season so far, and this just adds to his woes. He was looking decent before that. Not sure exactly what caused that, though. I'm checking to see.
it was Presley. Presley tagged the wall out of 13, Joe, and then Billy Bob Wright just went up over the top of his wheel.
And he lost his steering from that. Very reminiscent of what we saw in IndyCar in recent years. I seem to recall someone tried to dive into the pits after a problem and chopped across someone. There's the replay. Yeah, I think he wanted to head into the pits, and just unfortunately, Billy Bob was there.
Yeah, I think it's more of the fact that he just, tagged the wall on the exit. It's a very easy thing to do. And at that point, once he's had that contact, he doesn't know what the steering's like. You're a passenger. There's the wall. He's just trying to gather it back up again, and then all of a sudden, car 21 up and over, and my goodness, very fortunate there that catch fencing's there. Otherwise, you would have been flying straight into what would be, at that stage, in virtual terms there, Joe, our commentary box position.
Exactly. Well, everybody's safe and sound, mercifully, as we saw a little bit of a battle there heading into the fountain section, but we've come back forward through turns 13 and 14. This is David Rossi here in that number 20 as Courtney sets another fastest lap. Rossi stretched himself a little bit ahead of those that are chasing him now. Jan Lehman has about 0.7 of a second to try and make up here.
It's going to be a tall order to chase that down. It's a tough circuit when you just need to settle into a rhythm here. Lap 4 of 23. Rossi knows that he's okay at the moment in 5th position. He'll take that +4 as we've got some side-by-side here. This is Lars Olsen trying to get down the inside of David Presley, who, of course, has had that hit on the suspension, so we don't quite know how the car's going to respond. He's doing okay at the moment, but the moment you check up, you can't really make a move through 5 and 6. Speaking of that, it's not stopping Benjamin Joko at this stage, but it's opened the door up. Hervé Trengarade here, down the inside here on this very tough off-camber corner. He's got the line onto Strand.
Wow. And that is going to get him up into the 10th position, into the top 10 after starting 29th. He took advantage of some of the wackiness that we saw there on the opening lap and has just chopped away at the field. By the way, I did see that he said himself he did not touch the wall or hit the grass, so he must have fell afoul of some sort of qualifying scrutiny there on his laps, and that's why he didn't have one count. Regardless, he's made good of this, and he's already on the attack on Olsen.
Yeah, no surprise there. Mika Leno putting the fastest lap of the race in a 28.6, and you can see the attacking that you can do around this circuit. Very squirrely off the exit goes Trengarade trying to chase down. It's going to be difficult to get a run here into turn number 1. You can see just patience needed on the brakes. 1 and 2 come along here to the left. You go up and over a river through turn number 2, and it's very easy to find yourself in trouble there, like, for example, the owner of General Motors did once upon a time. But here comes the move. Trengarade down the inside. This is the easiest place you can get it done on the lap. Get it nice and slowed up into the right-hander. Easy as pie.
A bit sad that Chevy didn't have a bit of a better sense of humor about that incident, because I think they should rename it to Corvette Corner, as a little bit of a slip-up from Presley is going to cost him some time, and I think Zoko is able to get by Olsen there as well. So some gutsy moves in one of the trickier places to try and pass here on this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a tough place, and it continues on. Out of 6 towards 7 now, and just lifting out of it on that run in towards that first corner. It's so easy to overshoot and find the walls at 7. You used to be able to actually run through all of the escape road back there, but they've walled it off now, so that's not an availability if you do get it wrong, and it would be an 1,000,000-point turn to get it back sorted from there. But through into 11, this is a track of patience. You can't go out there and make those moves and get 2 or 3 places a lap. You have to be patient. You have to set up those overtakes. And Trengarade has been a master of patience so far. And I think it'll be once again a little look, a little wait. He's got a great run here out of 13, and he'll have the nose all the way to 1. But again, he's not confident with Presley just shaking about a little bit. He still gets the nose for turn number 1, but he's on the wrong side of turn 2. He can't get it done.
I was going to say that took some real guts, because that's not flat out through that final corner in these cars. So he gets denied, but he gets another shot. Great slipstream. Not sure if that was a little bit of a lift from Presley or what, but he's going to lose his space, whichever. And behind him, Zoko thought he had a chance. So Presley down into the 9th position with that one.
Yeah, and all of this battling, mind you, they are now 25 seconds off of your race leader. So it shows you just how much you are tiptoeing around traffic around this place. The driver of Trengare's quality is already 25 seconds adrift of the leading duo. And I say duo right now at this time, Joe, because Mika Leno has been looking really good in the middle part of this stint. He has got himself right back into play with Courteniemi, who has just been unable to break away.
Good news for the casual fan that just wants a race. Oh, and the 17 goes around. Where is this at?
That's Robert Plumley coming out of 6.
Oh, so looks like onto the backstretch, he's going to have a horrible, horrible run. Just get swamped as cars continue to stream by. Brakes a little bit later than Massa and is able to stop the bleeding down here at 24th position.
Oh, well, the issue for Plumley was he clipped the wall on the inside going through the corner. Very easily done. And that's why he found himself turned around to say, very, very difficult corner. I believe you've just seen exactly what I have.
Yeah, Presley with a big problem in 12 and 13. It looks like he is now actually going to go into the pits. I don't know what kicked this off. I just saw him slow all of a sudden.
Oh, it was a moment coming out of 11, actually, where the issue started. Presley on the straight slowing, and then I think someone's run into the back of him there. Shoko into the back, Olsen. I am not sure what's happened there with David Presley.
Yeah, you're right. I think he just clipped the wall or something. I think we got the replay. Yeah, here we go. Out of the fountain section. This is a shockingly difficult turn. Oh, yeah. So, no, he didn't clip the wall. You're right. He just eased up for some reason. And with so many cars close behind, like you said, it's a canyon in here. They had no place to go.
I'm just looking through that corner before. He didn't cut it or anything. It's really bizarre. It's almost like the car just shut off into neutral or something like that, because he was going okay, and then suddenly, boom, there's no power. He said he missed a shift. So if he's missed a shift, then there's not much you can do. This is what makes racing brutal.
You know, we've talked so much about Ove Trangrade and his run through. I want to give a little bit of love to Gary Teal in front of him. 16th to 7th. He's not doing too shabby himself, and he did qualify. He's actually got a couple cars in front of him. There you see, that is Jan Lehman and Rossi. Rossi trying to defend as Jan goes on either side and has to back out of it.
Well, the door was firmly slammed shut. David Rossi was just taking his natural line, was not expecting that sort of level of aggressiveness there, Joe. That's the sort of move you'd try on lap 23, trying to go for it. Here comes Teal with a little search. He's not going to get there, though. Third in the train, but you know, this is the sort of thing. It's almost like, and I will use one of my favorite Twitch streamers, Mr. AeroHD, Aerotech, as an understanding of this. It's almost like trying to drive in the snow in Canada. You've got to try and work together with everyone to make it home. Everyone's a team out there until lap 23.
Exactly. You can't make any boneheaded moves or else you're both going to be gone in a heartbeat. And look at this. With all that battling, not only has Teal caught them, but Ove Trangrade has already made inroads.
Well, Trengrade's the fastest driver on track at the moment. We just saw he went purple on that last lap, had the fastest time of anybody, so he is absolutely flying. And it makes you wonder here that if Ove Trangrade was just trying to prioritize the finish today over what is one lap pace. I have no doubts in my mind he could have fought for the victory today.
Absolutely. He was fighting for the victory back in Japan at Okayama, and it just went sour for him due to events out of his control. As these four have a slip up, there's another problem for Gary Teal. This time it is Trangrade on his gearbox. Does he dare try and outbrake him at the end of the straight? Big defense from Gary Teal, so nothing doing this time. Nothing yet, but there is still a long way to go. They've got 15 laps to figure this out, or 14 and a half by the time they reach Strand Drive 1. As they go through the left of 5. This is a really underrated corner here. That wall juts out on the exit, so you have to be really neat and narrow through that section of road. And then as you go under the Pure Michigan Bridge, we are just a stone's throw away from Detroit here as we race in the Motor City. Trangrade all over the back, but again, just doesn't have enough of a run to make it happen here in towards turn number 7 as they go through. Now they've got some real troubles in front. That's Robert Reynolds. That's lap traffic in front. And this is the worst place to catch it. This is so narrow. Yeah, and back row Bob tries his best to be polite. He's known for being very good about letting people by, but just not a lot he can do to avoid being a hindrance in that section. Everybody through already. And Gary Teal is putting on a quite stout defense as he goes a little wide into 12. Doesn't get overtaken that time through, but mistakes like that could wind up costly.
They certainly can in a race like this. This is the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th positions on the road as things stand. Scottiniemi leading by about 2 seconds, but this is the key that they are trying to find. Where do you overtake? This is a chess battle that they're racing, and they're reaching some top speeds here. They're reaching 260 kilometers an hour before hitting the brakes. Here comes Trengaray down the inside, as that is just about pulled up with the utmost ability, and Trengaray gets another one. Make that plus 20. Oh, goodness me. Plus 22 for the day so far.
Brilliant textbook maneuver, outbraking him into turn 3. Is he going to get another shot here? He's awful close to Lehman. Tries to get on the power, but it looks like Jan is just that good on the throttle. And he's not going to be under threat unless this is an absolute dive from Ove, and certainly isn't willing to risk it at this stage. A little wide at the apex for the 16 as they once again enter the narrow fountain section.
Well, it's this narrow section which has been always difficult to try and battle through. They've got more traffic in front in the form of Jordan Shoko, so they've got that to deal with over the course of the racing they have. And this is not going to be an easy challenge to make these places. You take drivers one at a time. This is not a circuit where you think of the big picture, you think of the little picture and where it can get you. Great run again from Trengaray. Lehman is doing enough. He just lifts out a little more than Trengaray does, and Trengaray takes that as an advantage. I'll lift a lot earlier braking into turn number 1, try and get as much turn in as I can here in turn 2. You've got no aero to help. This is purely mechanical grip in these fantastic Lotus 49s. And then it's about, okay, have I got enough for the inside? Well, he's not stopping for nobody at this stage, searching, and the room just about given. He can't get the move done.
He's discovering what every driver... yeah, did you see something?
I did. It's Andrew Eng who has gone around at turn 11 in the number 25 car. He's had a big moment down there at 11. He's done an 1 million point turn to get back going again.
But it looks like the car is rolling importantly, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage, so at least it is whole, which is half the battle around here. He's among our last drivers still on the lead lap. We're already down to only 28 of them ahead of the leader. So we continue to watch this fight into the fountain section. I was going to say that Ove is discovering what every driver who fights his way from the back of the field forward does, which is the higher you get, the harder it gets to pass.
It does, and the key is that the higher you go up through the field, drivers are going to be at a similar skill level to you. There's a reason why Ove Trengaray's got number 4 on his car. He's got the 4th highest iRating here of anybody else in the field. Now, one advantage that he has with that number 4 iRating today here, Joe, is where he started by his grid stall. All the drivers that don't qualify, they are then sorted by their iRating, so he's had it a little bit easier. He hasn't had to go through 7 more vehicles today.
Ooh, this is looking like a good one. Going to defend to the inside as the Finn hopes to hold him off, but it is a futile effort. As look at how good on the brakes Ove Trengaray is.
Well, that's just the difference in confidence levels in my view there, Joe. Trengaray just breezed it through on the brakes, and immediately he funnels up behind David Rossi, who must channel his inner Alexander at this point in time if he wants to keep him behind at this moment. But what you'd say is that this is a confidence car. This isn't the sort of car that you're scraping hundreds and thousands out. You're finding tenths in this machine. You're finding seconds in this machine. This is not the easiest thing in the world. And just like that, David Rossi lifting off, and 1 goes through, 2 goes through, nearly a 3rd as well, as side by side. Gary Teal, yes, he also gets it through.
It looked to me like Rossi lifted. I think he is thinking bigger picture here, just wanting to see the finish. And this has brought Benzoko in as well, as we have already passed halfway at this stage. Bled a lot of positions. That was a little too polite for me.
Well, I would say one man's politeness is another man's invitation, and that's what we saw there. David Rossi is prioritising the finish, but a lot of drivers have a lot of different focuses as here comes the move on the front stretch, then in towards turn number 1. Easy done for Benjamin Shoko. Rossi's prioritising the finish here, and drivers are thinking about their iRating and their safety rating. This is still an official race, so to speak, so when you've got that focus in your mind, there's only one thing you can do. Reach the finish line first. Anything outside of that is a bonus.
So far, we've lost what looks to be about 6 or 7 cars. Olenek did get back out there for what it's worth. He's running 6 laps down, unfortunately, with Chris Hangler, other than Olenek being our last runner in the field, about 3 laps down. We watch Gary Teal here on our screen, who has gained a position thanks to the ease of Rossi pulling out of the way. Next ahead of him is the 16 of Lehman.
That's the next chasing target, and it will be something we'll be seeing over this race. I do want to point out the driver in 3rd position. We've talked absolutely nothing today about Togo Hasada, Joe. He's been on an island on his own since about lap 1.5, and he's just there 9 seconds off the race lead. You know, if you've ever heard of the term island racing, this is effectively just time trial right now for Hasada.
And I'm glad to see him get a good finish, potentially a podium, because he just missed out on it on his home race back in Okayama last week. He finished 4th before, which is where he started today, and up 1 position thanks to the problems in front of him. I'm sure he's plenty happy to just cruise around, especially with how tough this track is, on his own and be able to focus forward.
Absolutely. This is the sort of race you can't be sitting on your laurels for. Speaking of that, not sitting on his laurels is Gary Teal, who finds himself dealing with Benjamin Shoko. They're too wide. They almost interlace wheels there as they go through, leaving just enough as they go under the Lear Bridge and in towards turn 4 on circuit. You can't really get too much done. You can see just trying to get as wide as possible, trying to get into those mirrors. And I'll tell you much here, Joe. You don't see much in those mirrors, especially on a bouncy circuit like this. You need to have really good focus to work out who's behind you in those.
Indeed. So there was a great fight between them, but Teal held out as they break down into turn 7, and Rossi has caught up a little bit because of those two going side by side. They're losing track of Lehman on top of it. This is again amongst 6th, 7th, and 8th that we're looking at here. So just outside of the top 5, vying for valuable positions in the championship.
Absolutely, and this is the key. This is a long championship. It's 12 straight weeks that they go through and try and get as much as they can out of it. One wrong move in a series like this and you're hemorrhaging a lot of points, and you don't want to be doing that over a course of a season like this. You need to keep pressure and apply it over multiple weeks. That's one of the keys to a championship like this, and Gary Teal again is looking really, really good. Gets a wonderful run up over the bridge. Watch this go to the outside, trying to figure this out. This is going to have to be bravery on the brakes from car 11. Get by, or car 7, I should say. Look at that. That's how easily he can get it wrong. Benjamin Shoko getting all out of shape, trying to keep the car from spinning. And as he fished into the corner, he's lost a place for his troubles.
Well, it was worth a shot. Unfortunately, it bit him. We have had a wreck for Seb Alexander, the 24. Don't think we need a replay. Self-spin into the fountain section with some serious damage. He's had to take it into pit lane. There you see getting repairs now as we return to the 11. This has been one of our closest fights so far for that 11 up into 7th place. And now that he's seen Zoko lose his spot to Rossi, it has changed hands as to who he sees in the mirror.
It does, and sometimes that can be helpful, or sometimes it cannot, as Shoko gets another great run. It's going to try and... Oh, it's such a tough corner to try and get it done at turn number 12. Every time I find myself in the sim, Joe, I'm in the barriers there at 12, because it looks like such an inviting corner going in, but then it just takes your heart away with just how tight it is.
Let's see if Zoko gets it this time here into turn 3. Other than that, I do kind of want to check in on the battle for 10th between Hogan and Haraski, because that's been tight. Much better exit. Wow. Now Rossi is feeling defensive. Oh, maybe not. Now he lifts, and by goes Zoko. So that battle done. Haraski has been hounding Steve Hogan, the 29 car. You talked about gaining some iRating today. I think Steve is due for some.
And this is one of the things you get with such a big field like it is today, Joe. This is a 36-car field. So what does that mean and understand? Well, you're gaining a lot of iRating from drivers who are hemorrhaging. Olenek is losing a lot of iRating today. Tixier made a comment actually in communication saying, how do you lose 150 iRating in 2 minutes? You just drive this car. But at this stage, I'm sure that the likes of Hogan and Hraschke are looking at this as, okay, we're going to race. This is a top 10 on the line. There's still a lot of merit getting into the top 10, but we're not going to jeopardize our races and our ratings for it.
Yeah, Sebastian, the 6 car, obviously one of the ones that was collected in that opening incident. So he's not terribly happy, and it's understandable why. As we watch Hogan under threat from Hraschke, who gets very close in the fountain section, but difficult to pass in there, no matter how much faster you are. As he comes off of those 12 and 13 right-handers, doesn't seem like he's got the exit for now. Let's see if he can do better through 1 and 2.
Sometimes this is a game of pressure, and you just got to try and force the mistakes from the driver in front. When you see 29, it means 2 things. Either A, driver's very crash happy, or B, you find a driver who just hasn't quite gotten to a level of expectancy in terms of pace. But that's the move, and that is as easy as they come. Hraschke getting it done way before the corner. Steve Hogan is a driver who knows when he's beaten.
Yeah, we've seen this in this series. It is definitely a lot of gentleman drivers, and not in the effacing sense that you often hear it used. These are guys that want to play fair and are more interested in racing well and racing the right way. So as we look a little bit forward, Ove Trangrade continues his inroads and is now spying a 4th place, as that is John Olsen just ahead of him.
And John Olsen, another driver who has just been out of the way of everybody else, just keeping himself nice and calm, keeping himself in the best positions possible. And Trangrade knows that he's just got to set this up. He's got not long to make it happen, 6 laps, but 6 laps on the back of someone. Sometimes you can get a bit of tunnel vision. We'll see whether Trangrade has got himself an opportunity. They are battling in front. That's Eng and Ross just there. It's a bit of traffic, but immediately to the inside. Watch out here on the run in towards turn number 3. He's got it sorted. Car almost in the wall in front, and now watch this check up through the middle sector.
It's Andrew Eng trying to stay out of the way. Scott Ross is also another lapped car. He stays off to the right-hand side, lifts a little early. Looks like Trangrade is through. Olsen is as well, but he lost a little bit more in that.
Yeah, he certainly did. And I think any images of grandeur of 4th position are fading away from John Olsen right now. Doing a really good job. Lead battle, though, we haven't really talked about it. It's been an ebb and flow today, Joe, in this race. It's almost been rubber banding here. It's been out as wide as 3 seconds. It's been down as low as 2. Right now, it's down to 2.1, and the traffic's playing a really big role in this.
I kind of figured that'd be the case here. It's so tough to get by cars at various points on the track. Leno, 2.2 seconds behind Kortaniemi. Topi was kicking himself for his performance last week at Okayama. Made some mistakes, gave away a potential win to Mick Claridge. Without Mick here today, we haven't been watching him, but from our perspective, it's looked flawless.
It has looked flawless here from Kortaniemi. He hasn't put his car in any risk. He hasn't been chasing down the fastest lap of the race. He knows what his goal is. It's to finish P1, and he's been doing that job very, very effectively here. He knows he's only now ticking down some laps, and it's the Australian adage, you buy a ticket to the end. That's what Kortaniemi's done here today. He's bought a ticket to the end, but for the first time in a little while, he's got Leno just trying to bear down those fangs as more traffic here at the worst section. That's Grissinger, who's now going to have to let some drivers go.
Finds a pocket, gets out of his way, off towards the fountain, and then Miko rocks up to his gearbox. Just tried to lift a little too early there, and Miko gets held up. Surprisingly, though, he still gained time. Remember I said 2.2 seconds? It's down to 1.8.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the key there was it was down to 1.4, so he gave 4/10 of those seconds back. So net gain, he's found 3/10 in the middle sector just on that one bit of traffic alone. And for Miko Leno, that was a 29 flat on that lap. Courteniemi, half a second slower on that last revolution around. He needs to bounce back and not look at that relative box that he will have telling him how far behind the driver is, because Leno knows that it's all on him right now to get within range, not on Courteniemi to stay ahead.
Well, that one stays at a little bit of a stalemate. This one has been tight. Gary Thiel and Ben Zoko fighting for 7th spot as Gary comes across the line now with 4 laps to go. He doesn't have to survive that much longer. Just hold off the likes of Ben as the Australian continues to breathe down his neck. Every single time I watch, Thiel looks slow out of turn 2, and this time is no different. Here comes Ben around the outside with lap traffic. Is he going to get boxed in? He looks like he might, and he just can't find the way around. That was Scott Ross.
That was Scott Ross. I do need to note that Don Good has retired from the race just now. And for Gary Thiel, he's done so well. Traffic gets out of the way then in this scrap. And ultimately, what you would say at this point in time for Ben Shoko, don't do anything rash. You know you've got to make a move. You've got to the outside on a number of occasions here in this one. And I think the confidence here, the difference is turn 2. It's a very tough corner. It's very easy to understeer through that section, Joe, and absolutely smatter the outside wall.
And Mick Claridge likes to say that these two are two of the toughest drivers in the Lotus 49. So this is going to be a fascinating battle to watch between the pair of them, neither willing to give way, especially so late in the race. He's all over that gearbox, but he spins the wheels a little bit, and Zoko gives up a car length.
Well, 1 car length here isn't the end of the world, because you can gather it back up here through turn 13. And then it's all about the drive once again. Get as much as you possibly can out of this section of road and get yourself into position for, again, turn 2. You can see it's all about setup here through this section of track and, well, how far are you willing to go? The key that you're seeing here, why Shoko is getting such a great run through turn number 2, is he's taking a much wider entry through the early to mid part of the corner, maximising the exit, going to the left-hand side of the circuit. But again, it's covered, and there's a car in the wall there at turn 3, and that is Presley.
Presley returns to the track, and once again, Zoko finds not the problems with Gary Thiel necessarily, but with other cars that just become distractions out here. Oh, and did he hit the wall? Did Thiel clip it? He was slow out of the corner. Zoko thought about it in 6, and it wasn't there.
Just not quite. And sometimes it's the smallest mistakes you need to capitalise on. Oh, there's trouble in front. Andrew Eng, and it's with Yanni Lehman as well. Lehman's gone for a 360. How is Lehman still going?
Oh, but he might be damaged. He looks a little slow here. Into the back of Thiel. Oh, no. And Zoko accidentally pushes Gary Thiel into the wall. That's going to end the battle.
We talk about these cars being very highly strung. There was a bit of contact, and it was that unsettling of the rear trying to put the power down. That's what sent Gary Thiel around. He'll limp it home, but that is a chain reaction caused by a big accident with lap traffic just in front of that group.
It was a good save by Lehman, but yeah, I think he is a little bit damaged because he's going slow around the track. I wonder if we could get a replay, especially on board. Almost a miraculous save for that 16 car.
Yanni Lehman did so well, because that is the sort of contact that ends races. The way he's kept that out of the barriers, that is as much of a save as Nigel Mansell's save with the puncture at Adelaide once upon a time. And fun story about that, if he threw it in the wall, he'd have been champion that day because they wouldn't have been able to recover the car. But here's a little look then at the Global Sim Racing Channel replay. This is just after. This is Thiel's spin there. That's how easily he found the wall after that bit of contact. We are 2 laps away from the end, but it was just before that, and here you're going to see the contact. They go through and bang, just didn't leave enough room there, did Lehman, but somehow he's able to keep it going.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff there. It's sad that he won't be better rewarded because he's already down to 7th, 8th place, actually, already. Courtniemi, in the meantime, is on the final lap. He continues to lead, but it has been chopped down to 1.2 seconds. I think this is too little too late from the 3 car.
Definitely looks that way. Courtniemi's just managed the gap, and you know, you often see, for example, in quarterbacks, Joe, there is that criticism of being a game manager, someone like a Tom Brady. That's what you need to do to win races, and Courtniemi has been a race manager here today, holding off Mikko Leino.
It's weird that the Brit in the box knows more about American football than I do. So as we watch through the fountain section, Topi Courtniemi comes around, just has to manage it, as Jake was saying, cruise it to the finish. Leino is gaining. It's down to 1.1 seconds now. 2 more corners to go, 2 effective corners, really, and then the tiny lift coming through turn 14. Topi Courtniemi is going to be able to rebound after the mistakes at Okayama and take the win here at Detroit.
That is a beautiful win. Courtniemi has just driven a fantastic run. And let's not forget the driver in 3rd place as well. Hisada couldn't get a podium at Okayama, but that is as good of a drive as any to just ghost into a podium.
Brilliant stuff. Ben Zocco gained a number of spots there from the incidents that he weaved his way through. Unfortunately, being a part of one of them, getting into the back of Gary Teal, but didn't have all that much damage, and that will put him strangely back where he started this race, in the 6th place.
Races are very strange, Joe. You can be up and down and all around as he just blinks out a little bit as he makes his way towards the line. It's very, very difficult to know how a race is going to go, but if you can keep your grid position all the way through the race, I call that a job well done.
How about Miro Fraski from 22nd to 10th place, 9th place actually, here today. So brilliant.
Oh, Lehman's upside down.
Oh, no. Oh, right at the end.
It's 2 corners to go. He's clubbed the wall, and Steve Hogan's tried to avoid it, and Hogan's very fortunately not gone over. He's going to crab his way over the line. Look how much steering he's having to put in here to get his car over. He's going to be chased all the way down. Robert Plumley couldn't steal one more, but that is a real shame to see that 2 corners from home.
Hogan had to muscle his way to the finish like the Hulk there. So he eventually sees the checkered flag, but not where he would have liked it. That's going to be the last of our drivers across the line. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. Welcome back to Detroit Belle Isle. Round 3 in the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series saw Topi Kortaniemi take the victory. Mikko Leino was second behind him by only 1 second, but just didn't have the speed to try and challenge that number 2. And then the lonely race for Togo Hisada probably won't bother him too much because he got on the podium this time with a third as Ove Trangere did the miraculous, starting from 29th without a grid time, wound up 4th after all that at a track where it's nearly impossible to pass sometimes. John Olsen was 5th as Ben Zoko finished P6 in a lot of action. David Rossi was very polite today, but still had a net gain and finished 7th. Gary Teal from 16th to 8th was followed by another driver with a mighty run, Miro Haraski from 22nd to 9th, and Chris Murakami finished 10th after starting 30th himself.
Looking over then to the second page, Steve Hogan very fortunate to find the finishing flag today in 11th. Nearly got pipped to the post by Robert Plumley, who was just 0.3 of a second shy after his contact earlier on in the race with turn 6 wall. Colin Bentley is the last finisher on the lead lap there in 13th. Janne Lehmann, despite making it to the penultimate corner, will be classified as 1 lap down. Couldn't get the car righted again, is classified as 14th. Then you have Dave Cohen, Michael Grissinger there in 16th position. Brad Fenley will take 17th ahead of Steve O'Malley. Eugenio Massa is 19th today, and Jeff Saunders rounds out the top 20.
First one 2 laps down, Andre Juteau in 21st as Andrew Ang was 22nd. Back row Bob just stuck it out today and got 23rd after starting from 36. Chris Hangler was 24th, followed by Don Good in at P25. Rob Olenek, never say die there, started from 3rd. He had the number 1 on his car and at least collected 26. It could have been much worse if he hadn't have got back out there. Then you get to Lars Stolson in 27th. Scott Ross was a DNF. Alexander was as well. Presley brought it home in 30th. And then from there, it was all DNFs all the way down to 36. We do have our winner here today, Topi Kortaniemi here, who took the victory. And as we pull him in, Topi, last week you talked about your frustrations with yourself for throwing away a potential win. This week, it looked like you had control the whole way. Topi, do you have a copy?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
There we go. Now we got you.
Yeah. So I didn't hear you, so can you say again?
Yes, apologies. Last week you were talking about your frustrations with the mistakes that you made at Okayama. This week, though, it looked like you were completely under control whole race through.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, with Mikko behind you, was there any point where you felt nervous? He got it down to a second at the very end. He stayed within about 2 seconds all race long. So it looked like he gave you something of a challenge, or were you managing him?
Yeah, I was kind of managing him. I know the gap was somewhere between a second and 3 seconds, but I knew that there was a lot of lapped cars and anything more of up to 5 seconds could happen. So I still kind of kept pushing a little and just to stay in rhythm, because it's also dangerous to play it safe on a city track, because then you hit your apexes too well and clip the wall. So I was just trying to keep focus and don't even look at the lap count and just hit my marks and be careful with the traffic. And today it paid out well.
It really did. Thinking back to the beginning, though, this track kind of notorious for first lap messes. How aware were you of what happened behind you into turn 3, rather?
I saw some kind of a mess in my mirror, and I think it's just a racing glitch or something. But then I saw someone cussing on the mic and mayhem behind me. So it took me a lap to realize that Mikko was still behind me, and I knew he was fast, so I kept my race pace on.
Obviously, putting it behind, not worrying about that once that was done, and it didn't affect you. Congratulations on the win. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped make this happen?
Mick, of course. He always... We kept pushing each other in the last season and this season. We did last race, Okayama, and we had a lap time battle all week, and that made me find some setup tricks, and which helped me gain speed and win the race, I think. And all the best of luck for Mick for his journey around the UK.
Yes, so we're looking forward to that with Mick getting ready to take off on his bike journey. And that was our winner, Topi Kortaniemi, who took victory ahead of the field today. But down in 6, it was Ben Zoko. Jake is going to be talking to the Aussie, who decided to stay up a little bit later for us.
Well, I would say it's a race which has been up and down and all around, but to get P6 after starting P6, Ben, you find yourself in a race where this is probably the most difficult car track combo you can possibly put on an iRacing server. How was that in terms of a challenge for you today?
Oh, it was fantastic. I made it extra difficult for myself by getting some suspension damage. So I had the front left hit in, and it was, of course, steering funny for most of the race. I have to apologise to Gary. I don't know if it was completely me who spun him out towards the end of the race there, because we were having a great battle. But so apologies to him. And then because I think I just gave him a little bump around the apex of that slow left-hander before the double left towards the end of the lap, and it looked like it didn't do anything because he exited the corner straight. But then as he got onto the straight part, he spun out. So I don't know if my little speed boost was to cause for him spinning or not. And the other driver that Ove and I were battling with, I don't know who it was, but I think they missed a gear. They missed a gear right in front of me when I was accelerating hard out of a corner, and I had nowhere to go. And when I went to the right to go around him, that's when I hit the back of him, and that's where I got the suspension damage. So apologies to that dude, but I do think he must have missed a gear, because it was like not a spot where you slow down that drastically. But yeah, mixed feelings for that race, because I'm always really quick here at Belle Isle for some reason. I don't know why. And I really enjoy getting up close to the walls, but I was expecting to be a little bit faster and quali, but the pressure got to me knowing that I would be a bit further up. I looked at my optimal after qualifying, and it would have been good for P2 or something. And then, the beginning of the race, I was taking it nice and careful, and I do what I normally do on the race start. I look for the biggest gap on the track, and that's usually the inside line going into the heavy braking zones. And that worked out well for me today, because whoever it was who missed their braking marker was already, they were on the racing line, so they went straight past me. And I could see they were trying to avoid hitting everyone, but unfortunate for them, they did their best to avoid hitting one, but it looks like it took out a couple of the leaders. And when I approached that corner, they had bounced back in front of the track in front of me, so I couldn't avoid the cars that were stopped and slowing down, which meant I came to a complete stop on a couple of occasions and got passed by pretty much the entire field. But it was fun battling back through with Ove. So it made for a really exciting race.
Absolutely. It's very clear that you don't get paid by the hour when it comes to your interviews, Ben. But before we let you go, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank?
Just everyone in the Lotus 49 community. This will be the last broadcast race I make for a while, because we go to daylight savings this weekend, and next week the race will be starting now rather than ending now. So you might see me in the odd occasion, but I won't be around for a while.
Well,
so thanks, guys. Look forward to racing again one day.
Well, we'll probably see. Maybe 6 months from now, we might get the chance to see Ben Shoko back here on the Global Sim Racing channel, joining us with a 6th place finish overall. Joe?
And that's going to wrap us up here today at Detroit. We want to give a big thank you to the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Jake, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because next week we're going to Silverstone. That's the new one. That'll be Saturday, October 9th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And just a little bit, we're heading off to VIR for the Camel GT series. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.